Well, welcome, ladies, and welcome to how do you get a year's worth of results done in just the 90 days? So how can you truly have a kick-butt 3 months and repeat that process every single 3 months? So let's dive on in. And many of you, I saw lots of new names that were actually signed up. We had a ton of people signed up, and some names that I definitely recognize and some that are new. Just so super quick before we're just going to dive into the meat of the content. But some of you might be wondering, like, who is this Claire character? And I have been in training and coaching for my first undergrad, or my first career was as an accountant, but ever really since then, 15 plus years in corporate training and coaching, and actually got a master's degree down here at North Carolina State University in adult training, adult education. And I actually dipped my toe into the entrepreneurial arena about 10 years ago, and it was with Mary Kay, and I was the Mary Kay sales director. And that's a wonderful organization. It's phenomenal. It just wasn't for me. It was not a direct alignment between my love and passion and with how that business made money, right? And in that business, how you make money is booking and coaching and building a team. What I loved, though, was I had a whole unit of women, and I loved my weekly training meeting. I loved just encouraging and motivating and training them and simplifying for them the business building process. But I just wanted to do it on a larger scale. First of all, that was not a money-earning activity in that business. Here, obviously, this is what I get to do. But I wanted to help women, regardless of what business they were in, help them do that, get that success much quicker, right, on the fastest path. Now, I coupled that with when I actually became a Mary Kay sales director. My son was just born, and he just turned 8, so it was 8 years ago. Yeah, a little under that. And he was 3 months old, and I had been diagnosed then with super advanced breast cancer. Like, it was huge. It had spread. Pretty much every lymph node was already cancerous, and so I did not have the best chances of survival. I was not given the best chances of survival. So I went into a whole year and a half of, mastectomy and tons of chemotherapy and tons of radiation, and I can sort of laugh about it now just because, oh my gosh, it was the biggest life blessing for me at such a young age. I was 35 at the time, to be given such a gift. And maybe that sounds weird for some of you, but it really shook me up in a good way and really made me analyze life and where I was spending my time and what I'm supposed to do on this earth, right? Like, truly. And it gave me this burning deep desire, deep in my belly, to grow into the wife and mom and woman that I truly wanted to be. And it gave me this burning desire to get back into the home. And when I say that, when I think of like my past corporate self, the one who was moving up the career ladder, and it was all about that, moving up to VP of HR, and that was my direction and path. It just sounds so archaic to me that I want to get back in the home, right? And I want to be that mom that's there when my son gets off the school bus, and that's there to volunteer. But that's what I wanted to be, and that's truly what I wanted to be. And I could only do that through an in-home business, because the reality was I was the primary breadwinner. My husband's a teacher, and I know there's a couple of ladies on the call, the ones that were able to type in where they're located. They're actually here locally. Ironically, most folks on the webinar generally are from all other states, and most of my clients are actually from all different states. But so those in North Carolina know that our teachers do not get paid very much, right? I think we're like the second lowest paid teacher state. And so not only was it low, but then, they haven't received an increase in 7 years. And so the reality was that we could not survive truly, peacefully anyway, on my husband's teaching salary. And I was creating this business then from scratch, right? Truly from scratch. So what I did was I said, you know what, this is so what I want to do. And in order to do that, I said, let me just go back. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a job. I'm not giving up on my dream, right? This was probably about 4 years ago. I'm not giving up on my dream at all. It's just I want to build this company from a place of enjoyment and peace, and not from like scarcity and lack and, oh my gosh, are we going to have enough money to pay the bills? And I had this fabulous job at a law firm as an office manager, and I said, I'm going to leave that job when my coaching income surpasses my law firm income, because I wanted to be a mom. Like, truly, I just wanted to get in the home. And I don't know if any others can relate. I mean, whatever your reason is that you want to get home. But for me, again, it was just, I couldn't in order for me to be home, again, I need to have that business, and also not just, $500,000, $2,000 a month. It needs to be something significant. And I have decided, especially through that life experience, to truly dedicate my life to help other women and moms, whatever your reason is for having this business, but who want the same thing, who want this business, who want to be able to use it as a way that you have lots of your time and your energy so you can truly grow into that wife and mom and woman that you want to be. Now, my differentiating factor is I especially help the service-based woman entrepreneur. So if you are in the product or direct sales market, this webinar is definitely for you. It's just that my focus, like my clients, are in the service-based arena. So coaches, consultants, healers, mentors, web designers, virtual assistants, photographers, right? You're trying to figure out, how do you package your solution? How do you package your time and your expertise to help folks solve problems, and how do you package it and market it? And my passion is, especially, like I said, because of that life-changing event, I realized, gosh, life is short, right? It is truly short. And we want to get things done quickly and in a short amount of time. So my mentoring program, I work with folks one-on-one, and my forte is to help them get results in the quickest, easiest way in 12 weeks. And just like a passion of mine, which is why I'm talking about this topic today, it's become a passion, and it's become a skill of mine, is because I do want to work just part-time hours, just while my son is at school. And I have more than a full-time workload, absolutely, between all my clients and my marketing. And so my focus is, well, how do you get a heck of a lot done in part-time hours? So that's really what I'm all about, is simplifying our business so that we can get significant results in whatever number of hours that you want to work. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. And this is where I would love for you to, those of you who are willing to share in the chat function, who can you relate? Because women business owners generally fall in these different categories. Sometimes we can relate to a couple of them. But this is Taking Forever Tina. And she's like, oh my gosh, I would have thought that my business results would be different by now. Like, this is taking forever. There is so much to learn about how to create a business. I am never going to get there. So I don't know if you can relate to Taking Forever Tina. Or maybe you can relate to Multitasking Martha, where she's like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. And she's moving from, a phone call to picking this up to one project, to one idea, and getting sidetracked in social media. And she's like, there's so much to do today. I don't even know. I'm sitting in my office to work, but I do not even know what to do first. So that's Multitasking Martha. Oh, and this poor girl, oh my gosh, this used to be my ideal client character, and it was a picture similar to this. She actually had stickies all over her face. But my ideal client was Overwhelmed Olivia, and she is just so overwhelmed. She's like, oh my gosh, I just do not know where to start first. Like, I feel like my head is spinning with information overload and with all these creative ideas I want to do in my business, but I have no idea actually how to get these things off the ground. I am just so overwhelmed. I'm just going to sit here and put my head on the desk. So I don't know if you can relate to Overwhelmed Olivia. Or how about Comfortable Connie? She just doesn't want to put herself out there. She's working her business, quote unquote, working her business, but she's sort of just hanging out behind the scenes, right? She's just organizing her office. She's working on the back end of her website. She's working on the perfect tagline. She's just not putting herself out there. She's not getting clients. She's just working on what's comfortable. So this is Comfortable Connie. Or this is Shiny Object Syndrome Susan, where she's like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. And she puts all of her energy into that. And then she's like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. And she puts all of her energy into that. And what she finds, she has all these projects that didn't really come to fruition. And she's spent a lot of time and energy and money, but she doesn't feel like she's any further ahead. So I don't know which ones you can relate to. So Martha, okay, great. Have some ADD games. Yeah, actually, and this is not the clinical ADHD, but there is definitely an ADHD, an entrepreneurial ADHD that we're all prone to. And you know why? Yep, Overwhelmed Olivia, Martha, absolutely. And you know why? It's because we are pretty special, ladies. We are special. As an entrepreneur, we are creative by nature, right? We get these creative ideas, and we just want to do some good in the world, right? Good for our clients and good for our family. And the thing is, I actually want us to appreciate that in us. But what I want us to do is use these creative strengths, like lots of ideas and excitement, and use them to our advantage, because right now, unfortunately, they're crippling us. When we go from idea to idea to idea, when we feel so overwhelmed we don't know where to start, when we have so much information overload that we're not implementing, right? We're learning. We feel like we're like comfortable Connie. We feel like things need to be perfect before we get out there. Because ladies, if I waited until my website was perfect, right? If I waited until my e-zine was perfect, until a program was perfect, I wouldn't even be out there. I'd still be at the law firm. I would still be at the law firm. So let's not use these creative strengths to our disadvantage where it's just, again, crippling us. Let's just figure out, well, how do we corral all this, our creativity and our energy, and actually springboard us forward? So that's what I want us to do. So good. Thanks for sharing, ladies. Yep. Some are saying, absolutely, I can relate to all of them. So what are we going to cover? We're going to talk about how do you do this? How do you easily and strategically plan out your next 90 days so you can achieve a year's worth of results? And how do you actually do more by doing less? That's truly my philosophy. You can ask my clients. I'm always like, let's simplify this. Let's simplify this. You're doing way too much. Less is more. How do you keep that laser focus? Keep your eye on the prize so you can say goodbye to that shiny object syndrome that, well, again, we want those creative ideas to come. We just don't want them to trip us up and to cripple us, because, again, it's just slowing down our progress tremendously. And how do you, when you are sitting down, right, not feel like that overwhelmed Olivia person, but instead feel confident that you know what to be working on, you feel more in control of your day, right? You feel like you're being more proactive and not reactive, so that you can truly get more done in less time. So you can have more time off to enjoy life. That's what I'm about. I don't want to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, ladies. I don't. I just want to work while my son is at school. So how do you get this all done? Like I said, more than a full workload, a full caseload, it's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. All right, so what is tripping us up? What is tripping us up? Now, I'm going to go ahead. I love my little annotation tools here. Let me minimize this for a second. Get my little pen. Okay. Poor treadmill Terry. This is how so many business owners feel, right? We're working, but we feel like we're in the same spot. Or maybe a little bit further ahead, but pretty much we're working. Why does treadmill Terry feel like this? Her business is not moving along as quickly, nearly as quickly as she thought, nearly as quickly as financially she needs it to be, and nearly as quickly as her confidence level needs it to be, right? She's having moments of doubt, being like, gosh, can I do this? Is it worth it? Like, so why does treadmill Terry feel like this? First of all, most likely, the mass majority of women business owners, they don't have clear direction. They're not super clear on where am I going and how do I best get there. And that might sound so simple, but realistically, a lot of times just when I first start working with a client, we realize, or she realizes, oh my gosh, I don't really know. She knows she wants more money and more clients, but where is that truly? Like, where do you want to go and how do we get there? The second thing is, once she knows how to get there and what to be working on the next 3 months, a lot of times she's just not using her priorities to consistently guide her work week. Again, a lot of times her work week is being governed by other people's emergencies or busy work and not moving her own agenda forward. And then last but not least, I was talking about all those creative ideas that come to us. We don't want to stop that. We want them to keep coming. But what happens is when we don't have a place to store all of that and all of our creative ideas, we get sidetracked. And it happens. I mean, almost every businesswoman can relate to that term. Oops, sorry about that. Can relate to that term, the shiny object syndrome. So you're not alone. You're definitely normal. But again, we want to figure out how to corral that and use that to your full advantage. So let's start with not having a clear direction, like where am I going? And how do I best get there? So let me first introduce you to the concept, one of my favorite activities that I do every single year at the beginning of the year. And if you don't have something like this, then it's okay that it's mid-year. Don't worry about it. But it's a habit that I encourage you to pick up and you do every single year. And it's one of my favorite activities. I'm not talking about, boring project plans or anything like that. I'm talking about creating your definition of a success vision. And what that is is that's where you sit. Like I said, it's my favorite thing I do at the beginning part of the year, and I sit on down and I dream. And I figure out where am I going to be at the end of the year. And I sort of see like a future self, my future self. It's the end of the year, it's the end of December, and I am glowing. I have had the best 2014 ever. And when I say the best year ever, that means I've had a joyful, blessed, productive year. And I get clear on, okay, if that future Claire is able to say that in hindsight, what has happened? What has transpired that year in 2014 for me to feel that way about my business and my life? So that's what I do. And because we can't do it all, ladies. We can't do it all in our business, and we can't be superwomen in our lives. We can't do it all, but you know what we can do is we can figure out what's most important to you and just do those things incredibly well. And when I say what's most important to us, and I picture a plate, like you can see this plate here, right? This plate, what am I going to put on my plate this year and what won't be on my plate this year? But a lot of times, again, we don't sort of stop and think through that, and we just keep adding more things to our plate, and then what happens is we feel like treadmill Terry. We feel like we're spread so thin that we're not getting anywhere, right? We feel like we're so spread thin that we're not doing anything incredibly well. So that's the first thing, you figuring out your plate. Now, I'm sharing with you my categories of my success vision, and only 2 of them are business. So one is business, right? Like, where am I at? What is my business looking like at the end of the year? Maybe what programs I have, or how many clients, or how much am I profiting each month, or what are the hours I'm working? Like, what is my definition of my business success? And then professional development gets more into how have I grown as a woman, as a businesswoman, maybe my work habits, how I'm working my business. Maybe I'm more skilled now in social media. Like, where am I at technically in my business? So those are those 2 categories. And then I've got 6 for the rest of my life. So you see, I'm really building my business around my life. It's not like my business is taking up half of my plate. It's taking up 2/8 of my plate. So then family and relationships, what does that look like? My relationship with my husband, my children, my family, as a sister, as a daughter, health and wellness, what about that? What's my definition of a blessed, productive year, joyful year with health and wellness? Is it that I'm in a certain size? Is it that I've found an exercise routine that I love and that I'm doing consistently? Is it that I'm going to the farmer's market and buying organic and I'm loving the healthy habits I'm teaching my children? What does that look like? And when I'm describing my success vision, I'm describing it as if it's a done deal. Remember, it's my future self, my future Claire, the one that's glowing because she's had like a kick butt 2014. She's almost describing what has happened. So I'm describing it as if it's a done deal. Personal growth, how that's different from professional development, is that's more me as a woman. Like, how am I filling my bucket, my interests, my hobbies, my me time. Maybe it's I've taken an art class, or maybe it's a dance class, or I'm part of a bunco group, or a book club. A women's book club. We loved getting together once a month for wine, and it's just fabulous and fun. And what about faith and inspiration? What does that look like for you? You've got your quiet morning time with God, your meditation time in the morning. You found a wonderful church you're really involved in. What does that look like? And what about family finances? We've got a plan. We feel like we have a plan for funding college for our children. We have an emergency fund, or I like to call it more of a financial peace fund, $5,000 in our financial peace fund. What does that look like? And community and making a difference. Is this going to be the year you're volunteering? And I just want to give you an example, too, that every year for me, I create a new success vision. And there are some years where things I'm choosing to put on my plate, and there's some years where I'm not. So now it is important that I volunteer in Dylan's class. And when I do have volunteer opportunities, as long as it's on a Friday and not on my money earning days of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but if it's on a Friday, and a lot of the opportunities are, I say yes. And that's because I'm choosing what to put on my plate this year. But there's going to be years where that's not part of my success vision. And I'm going to allow all of those wonderful volunteer opportunities for all the other moms and dads, right? But it starts there. And the way I do it logistically, it's whatever feels motivating to you, but just so that I know some people sometimes like to know the details. If I've got 8 categories here, I actually create 3 descriptive statements in each category. So I'm really painting a picture of what life looks like vividly, what it looks like and feels like at the end of the year. So when you see my 2014 success vision, I do have 24 statements. Okay, it doesn't need to be so logistical like that, but that's how I do it. I've got 8 categories on my plate, 3 descriptors in each category, and that's the way that I do it. And you might want to know, here's an example of what, I don't think my pen's working anymore. Let me see if it is. No, sorry. That's okay. Here is I'll just describe. Here is an example of what maybe my business category could look like as part of my success vision for 2014. And these are not goals. Again, this is where I'm just painting a picture of what life looks like by the end of 2014. So here's an example that could be very similar to mine. So my 3 descriptors might be, maybe the first one is I'm easily averaging $10,000 to $15,000 profit every single month, and the women I'm mentoring are getting incredible results. I'm able to offer such personalized attention, and I'm helping them do amazing things. I've become officially highly sought after, and I have a steady stream of new ideal clients who want to have sales conversations with me. That could be one of my descriptors. Maybe the other one is I'm delivering super great content. I'm keeping my community engaged, thankful, and they're actively spreading the word about me. I have 5,000 people on my list and 5,000 on Facebook, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. And then maybe the third descriptor about my business success, right? For me to feel like I had a joyful, blessed, productive year, where do I want to be at the end of the year? It could be I've worked into a 10 to 2 schedule. I'm truly living a freedom-based lifestyle, and I'm living my dream life and my dream business. So that just gives you an idea of when I talk about descriptors. So again, they're not goals, right? I'm really painting a picture of where I'm going to be at the end of the year. And then get really good at seeing your vision as a done deal. My favorite thing to do is I record myself, and I set it to background music, right? You can get some really good background music. It's great to do it to classical music, like it's called Baroque music. I don't know the whole science behind it, but it makes it very powerful. But I just record myself as if I'm having just a friendly conversation with myself. And again, I'm just painting a picture of where the heck we're going this year. And you could imagine listening to that. What if you could just listen to that as part of your morning routine? Just listen and dream and just see it. I can tell you that that simple act, right? We still obviously need to take action and do the work, but that simple act is huge. And it's fun to do. But it's amazing how it serves as a beacon to you in the midst of maybe a chaotic storm, right? When life happens, it just helps you bring you back to what's important and what's not. And do you think it can keep you focused, motivated, and inspired on what you're about creating? Absolutely. Does anyone do anything like this, any form or fashion now, where you really paint a picture of where you're going to be at the end of the year and you hear it? You've actually created it as an audio. Anyone? Feel free to share in the chat function if this is something that you're already doing and you're already doing consistently. That's the key, is that you do it and you do it consistently. So if you're not doing it now, jot down that idea. That might be a great place for you to start, maybe one of your projects to work on over the next 3 months, because this is huge. This is such a game changer. And again, I don't know the whole science behind why it's so powerful. It gets into our subconscious. I don't know that. There's people out there who can tell you why. I just know it works. Absolutely works. All right, so we know where we want to be at the end of the year now, right? We've really painted that picture, but now we've got to figure out how the heck to get there. And why this sometimes trips people up is because it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's not like it's super clear, okay, to get there, take route A, because there's multiple ways to get where you want to go. And sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we just want to pick a route and just start taking steps on that route. I love the example, the Siri. You got Siri and you're telling her where you want to go, and she gives you options, route A, B, or C. So we just want to get good as business owners, not to let it trip us up that we feel like we have to have a perfect plan, and we need to know that route A is route A, and even if we start on route A and it doesn't seem like the right route, we don't want to be so rigid that we don't try another route. Now, there's a difference between that. That's what we want to get really good at. If we pick a route and it's route A and we start working towards route A consistently and it doesn't feel right, let's pick another route. But we want to catch ourselves because there are some people who are going to go, I want to be on Route A. No, I want to do C. No, wait, now I want to be B, right? There's definitely a difference there, and you'll know if it's because you're being all over the place because you just are being all over the place, or if you're changing routes just because of what makes sense and what your gut is telling you. That's just an important skill as a business owner. But ultimately, I would love for you ladies to keep this visual in your mind because I think it's such a peaceful visual that what we want to do throughout the year is all we're doing is we're closing the gap. Right? Every year I talked about how I create a new success vision. So at the beginning part of the year, I am purposefully and by definition creating a gap. Even when I have a great year after a great year, so in the beginning part of 2015, I'm going to still purposely create a new gap between where I'm at the beginning part of 2015 and where I want to be at the end of the year. And for some people, that gap creates this feeling of, oh my gosh, this overwhelm. Oh my gosh, look at this big gap between where I'm at and where I want to be. But I'm going to encourage you to look at it differently. And I'm going to encourage that you're going to take that gap, right, from the beginning of the bridge to the end of the bridge, just 3 months at a time, 3 months at a time. And all you're going to do during those 3 months and say, okay, now what? Over the next 3 months, what can I do to close the gap? What can I do to start taking steps across that bridge to close the gap? And I'm going to actually share something. I'm going to go off tangent for a second because what I see happen is business women normally respond, because that gap by definition does create something that feels uncomfortable, right? It feels uncomfortable. And that feeling of uncomfortableness is just because we're not where we want to be, right? We want to get there and we want to get there now. Now, business women are going to respond one of two ways. You're going to have one camp that is going to close that gap and that feeling of uncomfortableness by closing the gap by taking steps across that bridge, taking steps towards their vision, and the gap is getting smaller and smaller. Or unfortunately, there's going to be some who don't even start stepping across the bridge because they're like, I don't know how to get there. I'm not sure what to do. Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. So what do is they sit down at the beginning part of the bridge and they don't take steps across that bridge. And you know what? That gap gets smaller, not by them moving, but by their vision moving. Where they want to be at the end of the year, like, oh, do I really need that? Do I really need to make that much money? Right? And the gap gets smaller because that bridge gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it gets to where they're at now. And that's when we just give up on our hopes and dreams. So I encourage that we don't choose that option. Okay? Let's not choose that option. Let's choose every 90 days, we're just going to say, okay, now what? What can I do over the next 3 months to close that gap? And let me just start taking steps across this bridge and giving myself permission to take imperfect steps. They don't need to be perfect steps as long as they're facing in the right direction. And then you know what's shocking? Even though in the midst, when we're taking these baby steps, sometimes in the midst it feels like we're moving slow, but then you get the end of the year and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, look at all that I did. So do it that way, baby step after baby step, 3 months at a time. So that's the high-level strategic thinking of where you're going, right? You want to see your success vision, where am I going to be at the end of the year, and then you want to figure out, okay, what am I going to do over the next 3 months? And that's what I want to talk about. That's the high-level strategic thinking. But we don't want to end it there. We want those 90-day goals, or what I call your 3-month success plan, because I like the sound of that so much better. People don't like the word goals. Don't call it goals if you don't want. Your 3-month success plan. And then we actually, though, want to take that high-level strategic thinking and actually have our day-to-day decisions and what we're doing today be guided by your 3-month success plan. So let's dive on in, because again, I was talking about a lot of times we don't know, well, what are the best steps to take across this bridge? You know, what should I work on? And it's not about working on what you're most comfortable with, right? We don't want to just be comfortable Connie, which unfortunately is what a lot of people do. They feel busy, but it's not what's moving their business forward. And it doesn't need to be what everyone else is telling you should be doing. I don't like those words, you should do this. Because of course, a blogging expert is going to say you need to be blogging. A Facebook expert is going to say you need to be on Facebook. You know, a Twitter expert is going to say you need to be on Twitter. YouTube is going to say you need to have YouTube videos. You don't need to be don't listen to what everyone else is telling you what you should be doing. What I want you to do instead, I encourage you to do instead, is every 3 months you look strategically at your business and you see what does your business most need. So those of you, if you've got the handout that was in the email reminder, or just a simple sheet of paper, go ahead and pull that out, because I am showing you the process that I take myself through every 3 months when it's time for me to create a new set of 3-month success plan. And I do it on the calendar, right? So I've got one success plan for January, February, March. The plan I've got now is for July, August, and September. But this is what I walk myself through. Okay, and you just brainstorm. You're not creating your goals or your success plan yet. You just want to, essentially, you're creating some good content that most likely will be part of your success plan. The first thing I ask myself or ask my clients is, let's close any of those unfinished loops, right? That nagging voice being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't get my website done, or oh my gosh, I still have not gotten my email newsletter done, or oh my gosh, you know those things, those oh my gosh. Anything that's been nagging at you, then I want you to jot that down, because the sooner we can finish and close up some of those unfinished loops, the better. And believe it or not, it's robbing you of creativity and joy and momentum in your business so much more than you even know. So again, you're not making commitments that you're going to be finishing these things up, but I want you to jot that down. What are some of those unfinished loops? Jot it down, and for those of you who don't mind sharing, I'd love for you to be sharing it, anything you can, over at the chat function. There's something that's been nagging at you, that unfinished business. It's been calling your name. Those stacks of business cards, Claire, do something with me. What are those things? All right, that's the first thing. The second thing I always want to look at is, I want to, what I call bring in the money, right? I want to look at your sales and marketing funnel, or really what's called your profit funnel. And for so many of you, this is why your business is not where you want it to be, is because you don't even have a profit funnel up and running, or you've got bits and pieces. So from so many people, and many of my clients, when I start working with them, we realize you don't even have a profit funnel. No wonder why you don't have a profitable business. But this is a skill I'm going to teach you to do every 3 months, right? Because I do have a profit funnel up and running. I've got all 3 parts. But every 3 months, I focus on, how can I repair this? How can I streamline it? How can I make it better? How can I make it stronger? So every 3 months, I've got lots of room for improvement, trust me. So even when you have your profit funnel up and running, this is where I look for my 3-month success plan. And for some of you may not have heard of this concept before. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. So some folks, yeah, some processes are broken, maybe some checklists. Absolutely. So it's about, needing them and can't find time to create them. Yep. So website's not finished. Yep. No logo, not knowing how to use social media. Great. So all those things, jot them down for your unfinished business, because it's a great place for us to start for a 3-month success plan. All right, I want to take a look at the profit funnel. And this is where I really wish my pen was working, but sometimes when I start using my annotation pen, it stops working, but it's all good. This, ladies, is a profit funnel. And a profit funnel, and I want you to jot down if you see maybe parts of your profit funnel that are not even existent or that are broken. Okay, so in order to have a profitable business, we need the very top part of our funnel. We need lots of our ideal clients to come into our space, right? Essentially be added to your list. We want to meet more and more of our ideal clients who are attracted to your brand and your message. So maybe you don't have a brand, right? Maybe someone comes to your website and it doesn't blow them away being like super clear about who you help and how you help them. Or I'm sure you've been to lots of networking events, right? And you hear people talk about their marketing message where they share, their 30-second. And how many times were you still unclear about what is it you do? I'm not really sure what you do. Okay, if we don't have a compelling brand or a compelling message, it's nearly impossible to be attracting lots of people into our funnel. All right, so it starts there. It starts with, how are you going to find them? So once you know who your ideal client is, so I have Ready to Ramp It Up Rhonda, right? She's a health coach. She's 37 years old. First of all, she's a fictional character, right? She's overwhelmed Olivia, but I want to find lots of overwhelmed Olivias. She's a health coach. She's got 2 young kids. She lives in Virginia. She's already been working with her clients, and she's been getting them some results, but her business is nowhere near where she wants it to be. She is ready to ramp it up. That's my ideal client. So I want to figure out, where do I find Ready to Ramp It Up Rhondas? Where are they hanging out online and offline where they'd be open to hearing my message? And that's where I create a marketing plan. And a marketing plan that feels authentic to me. Because I cannot tell you enough that if people are telling you to do strategies that don't feel authentic to you, don't do them. My philosophy is if it feels icky, don't do it. There are a zillion strategies at your disposal. Why would you pick a strategy that doesn't feel authentic? Right? So I always walk my clients through creating just 3 strategies. Three strategies where you can reach your ideal client, it feels authentic, and you can do it consistently. So if you do not have a plan, pen to paper, where you know, okay, these are my strategies, and then you take it a step further and you figure out what are you going to do, how are you going to utilize those strategies, like what are you going to do every day, every month, every quarter. If you don't have a plan, jot that down, because without a marketing plan, it's nearly impossible to fill your profit funnel. And then I also like, as part of my marketing plan, to have a couple of what I call rinse and repeat marketing strategies, right? For there to be just a couple of those. A lot of the strategies on your marketing plan will be more like drip strategies, right? People are just dripping into your funnel. You know, you're getting a lead here and a lead there. But I would love a couple of those to be what I call a rinse and repeat marketing strategy. So, for example, a webinar. I do 2 webinars a month, right? So I'm not just having a couple of people new that are being added to my list, right? I want a minimum of 60 to 150 people added to my list each time, right? It's just something that's so easy for me to do. It's just rinse and repeat. I just do it over and over and over again. So that's an example. So you might, maybe you're lacking there on your brand, on your message, on your website, on your marketing materials, not having a marketing plan. Okay, so jot that down. Or maybe that's not the issue. Maybe you're like, Claire, that's not the issue. I'm meeting tons of ideal clients, right? Maybe I'm meeting tons of overwhelmed Olivias. She's coming into my funnel. She's coming to a webinar, or I meet her at a networking event, or she hears a presentation that I do, or she sees a post on social media or an ad that I do on social media. But so she's coming into my funnel, but I don't have a keep in touch strategy. I'm not deepening that relationship with her or with that list. And if that's the case, all of that work I did in marketing, there's a big hole in my funnel and she's slipping out, she's sliding out, and it's almost wasted time, money, and energy. So you don't need to have the same keep in touch strategy as everyone else. Yes, I have more of your traditional email, right, every Thursday, but it doesn't need to be like that. It could be, you can create something fun that feels more authentic to you, works with your ideal client, but the key is that you have something, some type of keep in touch strategy. Or you may be thinking, that's not the issue, Claire. I'm meeting tons of Ready to Ramp It Up Rhondas, and I'm keeping in touch with them, right? I'm being super consistent, but no one's buying. Well, then something is broken on the bottom part of your funnel. Maybe it's your offer. The way you have your offers packaged is not irresistible to them. It makes sense to you, but maybe they're not hungry for it, right? Maybe you're just not able, you have all these leads on your list, but you're not converting them. So maybe your sales page on your website is doing you no justice at all. Or maybe you just don't feel comfortable having a conversation, a sales conversation with someone. So that's a profit funnel, right? We want to be working on all cylinders: marketing, keeping in touch, and converting to sales. So that was part of on that sheet, right? So jot that down. Where do you see maybe parts of your funnel that are either non-existent or where you've got some holes, some improvement? So jot that down. So unfinished loops, bringing in the money. And then the last thing is, let's take a look at how you've been working your business. Do you have some work habits that maybe have been tripping you up? Your email inbox is overflowing. Your desk's a mess. You're always running late. You've got some systems, maybe things that you're doing over and over again, but gosh, I just need to, like someone mentioned, a checklist, right? Sometimes our systems get broken. If you ever have like an energy or a time drain and you're like, there's got to be a better way, or I so don't want to do this, something's broken. And just think creatively. How can you do it better? Do you need to do it? Can someone else do it? Right? So we like to take a look at the way you're working, how you're managing your time, or how organized you are. So jot down any places where your work habits you feel like might have slipped and they're tripping you up, right? Maybe your stuff is getting overwhelming, all your receipts and papers and emails, and you're not getting in the habit of processing them. Maybe you're trying to keep everything in your mind so you're remembering nothing, right? And you can't go to sleep at night. Maybe you haven't been getting things off of your mind. Or maybe you haven't planned out your work. You're just going into work. You're living in this reactive mode. Or maybe your finances of your business. Maybe you have no idea what's coming in or out, or that's a work habit that you might want to look at. Right? So part of this funnel you see on the left-hand side is that, systems and how we're managing our time and how we're managing our stuff and how we're managing our money and our finances. So now you've done that brainstorming, right? And I ask myself those 3 questions every single time. But then you want to know, well, gosh, well, which ones? I've got a lot of stuff here that I can work on. What do I focus on? And for all of you, it's different. And for every 3 months, it might be different. For some of you, your business might just need to get the heck off life support. You just need to figure out, how do I get clients as quickly as possible? Forget about a clean office, right? Forget about this website. Forget about the logo. I just need to get clients. So I'd be looking at that part of your profit funnel, and that would be a priority. Or for some of you, maybe really your desk, your office truly is so overwhelming that you don't even want to go in there. And you do not feel a bit of creativity or peace. So maybe that might be something that you focus on the next 3 months. Or for some of you, you're easily bringing in, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month, but you are so overwhelmed. You're working 80 hours a week, right? And you're just like, oh my gosh, there's got to be an easier way. So for some of you, that might be the focus is about getting systems or getting help. So it's all different. You just pick a route. You just pick a route and start taking steps across that bridge. Now, many of you might be thinking, well, gosh, how many things do I put in my 3-month success plan, right? And it's really going to be whatever makes sense to you, but I'll tell you what I recommend. And I'm just taking a look at those 2 pieces of my pie, right? Just the business and the professional development. And part of my business 3-month success plan is I normally have 4 to 6. You can call them goals, projects, priorities, commitments, call them whatever the heck you want. But I normally have about 4 to 6 projects that are part of my 3-month success plan that I picked from that brainstorming activity that I did, right? And they just seem like the 4 to 6 projects that make the most sense, that's going to move my business forward, that's going to give me some peace. And pick the ones that just seem the most strategic, you're the most excited about, right? A lot of it is that. You have energy around it. And limiting the, well, I should, right? My upline says I should be doing this, or I know I should be doing this. Limit that, I should, or I've got to, because it's most likely not going to be something you're going to do, right? If it doesn't feel like it's your own goal, your own project. And remember too, your 3-month success plan is about the activity, the work you're going to do. Your success vision was about where you're going to be, right? Those are the results you're experiencing. But your 3-month success plan is how the heck are you going to get there? What are those 4 to 6 projects to work on in the next 3 months that you believe they seem like the right steps, and you're just taking steps across that bridge, like a quarter of the bridge, right? Every 3 months you go to the next quarter of the bridge, and you just keep taking steps. So I would love just for you to throw away any thoughts or issues you have with goals, right? Call them whatever. Like I said, projects. And some people are like, Claire, I don't want to create goals or projects or whatever you want me to call them, Claire, because what if I don't achieve them? I could tell you, if I don't achieve one of my projects by the date that I said I was going to do it, I'm not hard on myself, because I know that I was focused on that goal. I know that every week I was like, okay, now what? Now what? How can I move this project forward? So I don't beat myself up, because even if I went across that bridge 3/4 of the way, that was huge. So try to get that out of your mentality. If you're like, I just don't want to do this because I've created goals in the past, again, don't call it a goal. Call it what you think is the right activity to get you across the bridge. And it's your activity, not what someone else is expecting of you. Or sometimes people may be like, well, what if I lose my motivation for a goal? And I can tell you there's times that I have, right? It was part of my 3-month success plan, and things have happened, and it just doesn't seem like it makes the most sense for me anymore. So I am totally okay with removing it or changing the date, because I just go with my gut. Now, again, catch yourself, however, if you are prone to, adding and deleting dates and goals, and, you're all over the place just because the goal got hard or the project got hard, or you just got so sidetracked with other, busy work. I mean, you'll catch yourself, okay? But I just don't want us to be so rigid. But really, again, don't call it goals, call it projects. And it's just about these things. It's about every 3 months taking steps across the bridge, because that's going to get you where you want to go, ladies. It's the simple things that you do, done consistently, that's going to bring you success. The simple things you do, done consistently, that brings you success. All right, so that talks about no clear direction and how the heck do I get there. So now let's talk about, you've got this 3-month success plan. I want you to use your priorities, right, your agenda, what you want to do in the next 3 months, to guide your work each week. Because that's what it takes, right? It takes every single week that you are getting some movement on your projects. And it takes this consistent effort, whether it's accountability, you have a coach, you're part of a mastermind, you're part of an accountability partner. Maybe you reward yourself, right? With every single project that you get off your plate and done, you reward yourself. I'm not a huge reward person, to be honest. For me, my biggest reward is that when I know that I'm really disciplined with this and I've got my 3-month success plan, and every week I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, now what? Now what? What can I do to move this forward? First of all, I get really good at that, right? Breaking down that goal, and don't let it be overwhelming. And I just say, now what? Now what? What can I do now? What are the very next steps I can take to start moving this project forward? And I get really good at keeping my eye on that plan and asking myself, now what? The benefit, the reward for me is that I get so much done in the day, and then I don't think about work at nights and weekends. This stuff's not hanging over my head, generally speaking. 80% of the time, that's reward enough for me, absolutely. So now how do we keep this front and center? I don't know if any of you share in the chat function if you've ever heard of David Allen's Getting Things Done, but I love David Allen's Getting Things Done. And my system of organization and time management is a combination of David Allen's Getting Things Done, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, and the Pomodoro technique. I use the best of all of it. But one of the greatest things that I've learned from David Allen is my weekly review meeting. It's what he calls it. He's got a 5-step process, and it's step number 4. So if you haven't read that book, get it. I encourage you to get it. But it's what's called a weekly review meeting, and I call them my sanity meetings. My sanity meetings. I do them every Monday from 9 to 11. At a very, very high level, because I could probably talk, for 5 hours just on David Allen's Getting Things Done. But at a very high level, I just get current on my calendar, right? I'll take a look at, okay, where was I at last week? Is there anything like any loose ends to tie up? Oh, yeah, I met with someone, so I'd love to send her a thank you card. Okay, that thank you card is now a to-do, or what I call or David Allen calls a next action. It's an action. So I want to get that on my list. And then I want to take a look at what I've got coming up in my calendar this week, next week. Do I need to do anything to prepare? Do I need, oh my gosh, I'm double booked here. Let me do something about that now. Then I get my emails down to 0, 0, 0. I don't mark unread. I don't flag. I only do this at least once a week, okay? So I'm not always in my email because that is not a money-earning activity. But during my weekly review meeting, I get it down to 0. And that doesn't mean I'm doing the work. I'm just looking at each email and saying, do I need to do anything with this or not? And if so, what? That's it. That's a simple discipline you learn from David Allen's Getting Things Done. Do I need to do anything with this or not? So anyone using or Getting Things Done fan, please share in the chat function. I'd love to know if I'm the only groupie on the call. But how this relates to this topic is one of the things on my agenda for my weekly review meetings is I look at my projects list. And I'm actually going to show you a screenshot of the system that I use to manage myself and to give me sanity. But there's a section in there which is my projects. And really, my projects list will list those individual things, like those 4 to 6 things that are on my success plan. So it's on my list. And I'm going to be reviewing them on Monday mornings. And I'm going to look at each project, and I'm going to set, or goal, or let's say projects, because I like that word better. I'm going to look at each project on my success plan, and I'm going to say, now what? Now what? Now what? What are the very next things I could do to move this forward? And I'm going to figure out what am I going to do and when. And those items then become actions in my system, to-dos, right? But how I'm not using, a lot of times people think of a to-do list and it's things to do that day. My actions list, I may at any point have like 50 things on my actions list. They're things I'm going to do today, that I'm going to do tomorrow, that I'm going to do next Friday, that I'm going to do 2 weeks from now. But they're all there captured, and I know that I'm going to attend to them when I need to attend to them, and it gives me peace in not doing all the things I'm not doing, if that makes sense. Like I know what I'm supposed to be doing today, and I'm not worrying about all the other things to do because they're captured. So let me actually show you this, and I know it's a little bit blurry, but this is a system that I use, and it's called IQTELL, IQTELL.com. Don't know if anyone's heard of it. It used to be a free service for the last 2 years that I've used it. It just recently became a paid version, but it's very inexpensive. I think it's like $4 a month or something. For me, it's so a no-brainer. But it's not about the tool, ladies, but I just want to, it's not at all. It's about us having a couple of behavioral changes. But I just wanted to show, if you see on the left-hand side here, so all my emails there, I probably have about 6 email addresses, but they all come into IQTELL. My calendar is here, which is synced up to my phone. I've got my actions list, which is all of my to-dos. If I were to click on this, if it wasn't a picture, it would show me all my, 30, 40, 50, 60 to-dos. My projects list, this screenshot was actually done at in the first quarter, it looks like, because this is one of my goals. It was to fully SEO optimize my website. So you see, again, I'm coming to my projects list every single week and moving my agenda forward, being like, now what, now what, now what? I also wanted to show up here, sort of as a side note, I have my little affirmations, which if I click on that, that's actually my audio. That's my audio of what I was talking about, my success vision. So I have it handy, and I can listen to it at the start of the morning. But what's so cool is I use my actions, which is my to-dos. I go ahead and put a due date in for each of my actions. That's all I put in is what am I going to do and my due date. But my due date is not when it's due. It's when am I going to work on it. So when I'm sitting on down to work, I don't need to look through my 60 to-dos. I'll just click on what's due today. And those 8 things, I'll be able to go boom, 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 boom. Or there's some days I can't go boom, 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 right? There's days when so-and-so is sick and the car breaks down. But at least I can have peace, and I'll take a look at that, and I'll see, is there anything that absolutely has to get done today? Or can things wait? Can I change the due date on when I'm going to work on it? But this system gives me such peace. But again, it doesn't need to be this system. It's just that we get in the habit every single week at looking at those 4 to 6 projects that are in your success plan, and you say, now what, now what, now what? And I especially take some specific to-dos that are directly related with making those projects a done deal, and I go a step further. It's on my to-do list, but I also block it out. I create what's called weekly commitments, and I do that during my weekly review meeting on Monday morning. I'll just take a look at my calendar, and I'll actually, create chunks of time, dedicated time that I'm going to be working on parts of those projects, and I block it out on my calendar. Because what happens, ladies, I don't know, I talked about how I love, this is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But what happens, ladies, is way too many people are spending all their time in quadrants 1, 3, and 4, and not in quadrant 2. Quadrant 1 are things that they're important and they're urgent, right? So they got to get done ASAP. It's a client, we got to respond to them ASAP. It's urgent, right? Now, when we plan more, we're able to then have less emergencies. But unfortunately, most people are spending way too much time in quadrant 3, the bottom left, where it's really not important. It doesn't need to get done today. And it's not moving our agenda forward. It's someone else's crisis, right? A ringing phone does not mean it's important. I am all about letting a phone go into voicemail because I am working on my task. And then I'll see, is it important? Do I need to call them back now, or can it wait till later? So if we can spend less time in quadrant 3, less time in quadrant 4, just surfing the web, playing Facebook games. And a lot of times that happens because we sit down to work, but we don't know what the heck am I supposed to be working on, right? But we want to spend more time in quadrant 2, which, ladies, this is you working on those 4 to 6 projects in your 3-month success plan. But I can tell you that those important things to do, they're super important, but they're not urgent. Right? I talked about having a keep in touch strategy is really important, right? So I send out my emails on Thursday. Super important. People would forget about me if I didn't do that. But they're not urgent. It's not like if I don't send one out that I'm going to have my clients being like, Claire, I can't believe you didn't send out your Thursday newsletter, right? So what happens is those things that are important, because they're not urgent and the world's not going to blow up if we don't do it, what happens is we put that aside. We put that aside, and we work on other things. And what that means is it's not moving our business forward. So again, if you can get in the really good habit of every week looking at that and actually blocking out time in your calendar to work on parts of that project, that's going to get you where you want to go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so last but not least, we have all these creative ideas, right? So we have a 3-month success plan. There's 4 to 6 projects I'm working on, but that's not going to keep me from being like, oh my gosh, look at that. They've got this new type of YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, I so want to do that. What I probably did in a prior life was I would get sidetracked and I would get off on a tangent and I would do that. But I don't do that anymore because, again, ladies, it's crippling you. Trust me, it is crippling you. But we want to keep that idea, so we just want to have a place to keep our creative ideas and keep our eye on the prize, keep your eye on it. So we want them to keep coming, but we want to capture them, get them off our mind. And most importantly, I want to have all of those ideas handy when it's ready for me to create a new 3-month success plan. You can imagine how it makes every 3 months that you do it, it makes it easier when you already have these ideas of things that you wanted to do. But it didn't get me distracted. And I can tell you one thing that I find is all these things that I thought were so wonderful and creative and idea in the moment, when I look at them again, when I'm sitting down to create a new 3-month success plan, many of those ideas where I'm like, oh, that's not really, I don't really even want to do that, right? So I'm so glad it didn't get me distracted, right? It didn't get me turning off the bridge or going backwards. I kept putting one foot in front of the other. So you just want to find, I mean, it could be anything. I do keep them in IQTel. There's a section called Someday. And I have a category, I've got a folder in Someday, which is all of my creative business ideas. So I just throw it in there. And it's there. And I can keep my mind back on what I was doing, but I got that idea and I didn't lose it. So it could be, though, a simple manila folder you've got in your office, right? And you just throw in index cards with your ideas, or you can have all your ideas in an Excel spreadsheet, or some of you might like Evernote. Evernote is actually part of IQTel as well, but I don't use Evernote anymore just because IQTel for me has surpassed my need for Evernote. When I found IQTel that day 2 years ago, I wanted to cry. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It could not get any better. But again, it's not about the tool, but it's about these habits. So instead of being, remember that treadmill Terry, I want you to be peaceful Paula, where simply you have a clear direction. You create your success vision. Ladies, have fun with it. Get in your most comfy chair in your house and get a glass of wine and sit down and dream, or your comfy, coffee shop or whatever. And then keep that visual of that bridge. Don't get overwhelmed by that gap. You purposely are creating a gap. Because every year, every year you're creating that gap. You just take it 3 months at a time. Do that brainstorming activity. Remember those 3 key questions. And then from there is your content. From there, pick 4 to 6 projects. Ones that you have more energy around. They just seem the most strategic. They just seem right in your gut. And then you've got your 3-month success plan. And look at your 3-month success plan every week. Get really good at saying, now what? Now what? Look at the very next project. Now what? What can I do to move this project forward? And then have a place for all of those creative ideas. Again, we don't want to stump those creative ideas. We don't want to stop them. We want them to keep coming. So I have complete confidence in you ladies that truly you can be like the top 3% of business owners where you have a 3-month success plan. It's not difficult, and you will feel naked without one. Once you get in the habit of it, and every 3 months it gets easier and easier and easier, you would feel naked going into a new set of 90 days without one, right? And you'll see the difference. Oh my gosh, how much more you can get done. But yeah, so sit on down, create your success vision, create your 4 to 6 business goals or projects, and then execute them every week. So find some accountability. Like I said, maybe read David Allen's Getting Things Done and find some type of tool that works for you. Like I said, I use IQTel. And also check out, you can Google the Pomodoro technique, but this is phenomenal when I'm just sitting down to work and I want to work on one task at a time, right? So let's say I'm let's say I'm editing one of my client sales pages. I want to turn everything off, shut everything down. I set on my timer. It's just for 25 minutes of focused work. I get it done. After 25 minutes, you do a 5-minute break. That's one Pomodoro cycle. And then I do it again. So I can have 2 Pomodoro cycles in 1 hour. And oh my gosh, you get so much more done. Now I always need a sheet of paper handy because as I'm focusing on that, I'm thinking, oh, I want to do this, oh, I want to do that. So I just jot it down on my paper and you come on back. But check out their website. They've got really cool suggestions of what to do for your 5-minute break. They talk about a little bit more, like after 4 cycles of Pomodoro cycles, take a longer break, like 20 minutes to 25 minutes, and it just re-energizes you, because some people are like, gosh, I feel like I'd be taking breaks all the time, but trust me, you get so much more done. Absolutely. And it's truly the differentiating factor between feeling like this, overwhelmed Olivia, and peaceful Paula. It's have a plan and work the plan. And it's all about this profit funnel, right? As you were taking notes, you probably saw places that you had gaps, and it's so overwhelming for people to know, how do I get a profit funnel up and running? So what I wanted to do is actually extend an offer. It's completely free, complimentary, no strings attached, and I'm only going to be opening up spots in the next 2 weeks for 10 people to do a profit funnel tune-up. So what it would be a 45-minute strategy session, and you and I would just hop on the phone, and we're going to look at your profit funnel. We're going to look at all 3 parts, and what do you've got going on, or where is it missing, or where do you have holes? And in that conversation, I just want to give you my top 3 suggestions to how you can create a streamlined, highly profitable profit funnel. And I'm also would like to give you some recommendations after we have that conversation of where I think you might want to focus for your 3-month success plan. What might be some of those good projects after we take a look at your profit funnel? So just go to talkwithclaire.com. Just go there and enter in your information. And I'll also say, take a quick look at it. I won't be able to have conversations with everybody. I wish I could. But again, I am blocking out time for 10 people, 10 sessions. So my virtual assistant, she'll get back in touch with you one way or the other. But again, I love it. There's no greater joy for me, truly, than to hop on the phone with another business owner, someone who's struggling a bit, and to talk and to breathe belief into you and to give you this outside perspective. Let's take a look at your profit funnel. Let's see what's going on, what you can do to get things up and running, and where you might want to focus on the next 3 months. So again, go to talkwithclaire.com. As I'm opening this up, I want to see if you have any questions, but I did want to point out one question. I've had a lot of you that actually emailed me some questions from my email yesterday, and my presentation talked through all of them except one. There was one question. It was such a great question. It was like, okay, how do you do this, though, when you have a full-time job? And that's why I shared that in my story, how the first 1.5 years of me growing my business, I was working a full-time job. And I can tell you then that my 3-month success plan was not as robust as it is now, and this is my full-time gig, right? I mean, part-time hours, but you know what I mean. This is my thing. So I'd recommend the same exact process, but we have to be realistic, right? We can't be like this. Sometimes, when our eyes are too big for our stomach at a buffet, we want it all, but gosh, we only have 5 hours to work our business. I mean, we have to be realistic. You're still taking steps across that bridge, just maybe not as quickly. But you can get there quicker by following a process like this and by having dedicated time that you're working your business. So when I was working my business, I worked Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 12 to 1 over lunch. I blocked out Thursday evenings. That's when I hold some coaching calls. That's when I did my e-zine. I was also holding my coaching calls from 12 to 1. So I was in the car over lunch in the parking lot. And then Saturdays, from about 10 to 3, I'd block out a big chunk of time. Like that's where I'd write some content. That's where I do some of my social media posts. So you can get to the other side of the bridge if you can be committed like that and finding, yes, they're not big chunks of time, but they're dedicated chunks of time. And then when you have those chunks of time, you know what to be working on. You're not all over the place. So wonderful. So again, ladies, I'd love for you to take this opportunity. So first come, first serve, right? So go ahead and get in there with talkwithclaire.com, and I'll just stay around for another minute. If anyone has any specific questions in the chat function, please feel free. Also, I will be sending out a recording, so if you think of a question after, feel free just to go ahead and reply back to that email and let me know how I can help you. But if we don't have anything, then I just appreciate you ladies. Thank you so much. I know your time is super valuable. I appreciate you calling in. And yeah, thank you so much. You ladies have a great, great day, okay? I'm cheering you on. Bye, guys.